Aristotle, Aristotle, can you hear me? Socrates, are you watching? Plato, your boys took one hell of a philosophical outlook on the result tonight because it was a draw. So basically, could have been a little bit better, could have been a little bit worse. But the person we should be contacting just now is Homer. We want to get in touch with Homer, his editor's on. If I don't mean Homer from Springfield, don't mean Margie's husband. I mean the old boring blind poet who can't just get to the fight scenes. Just get to the fight scenes. No, it's always going to be the gods and the whispering rumour is whispering round the camp and all that kind of stuff. And then it's the sacrifices. It's always the oxen, the poor old ox. They're getting it all the time. The oxen, they're getting cut up and sacrificed, and it's always their fat is dripping over the fires in the camp, and it makes it a bit hungry, but really it's just boring. Well, a bit of a rewrite is demanded now because it turns out that the Trojans, actually, the guys that fought like Trojans actually won. They're in that horse, the old Greeks in that wooden horse. They think they're playing an absolute fly one. We're bearing gifts. What an absolute blinder we're playing here. And they're up in that horse and they're thinking, the second the lights go out down there, we're coming out, we're causing carnage, we are taking this city. But there's two boys in. There's actually two boys in there with them. It's Paris, it's Hector. The two of them are in there and they're like, oh, do you think so? We're actually got, well, we try to double crochets. No, it's a treble cross, and out comes the sword, and they're in about them, their total skirts flying everywhere, stabbing you of that, you of that, and they can't see them in the dark. And it's Paris and it's Hector, and they're totally winning. And then they get the Uzis. Hand grenades, stun guns, ninja moves and all that kind of thing. And they've won. And Paris and Hector have won because Paris and Hector look an awful lot like Connor Barron and Nico Raskin. Oh, absolutely fantastic performance by the Teds tonight. How you doing, folks? This is your Fat Egg Post. Philippe Clement is still unbeaten in half a dozen away games now. It is in European competition with Rangers, every one of them an epic reaction pod coming to you in association with Jersnet. Check out Jersnet, it'll be tonight. It'll be Friday morning before you see this. So it's going to be tonight, and it's going to be Craig, and it's going to be Colin. Craig's hosting, Colin guesting, so they'll be looking over all the details of tonight's fighting draw in the port of Piraeus and looking ahead to the game against the Jambos on Sunday evening. So get on to Jersey, sponsored by them, and Urns. Great big urns. Urns in a certain style from a certain part of the world. If you like, having consumption and eventually dying in Rome, if you're going to be buried in the Protestant cemetery in Rome, if you're one whose name is written in water, I don't want to give away too many clues as to what I'm talking about there, but a big urn. I'm sponsored by Big Urns, and you don't, you want to pay up all your instalments, but maybe pay up front for the whole thing because you don't want anything owed. You don't want owed on that urn. You know what I'm talking about there. That's getting a bit painful, as it must have been for the one and only Olympiacos tonight. How you doing, folks? My name is Alec Anderson. Beauty is truth, truth beauty. That's all you know on earth and all you need to know. When Stephen Davis took over temporarily for Rangers just a little over a year ago. It's only basically just over 13 months since Michael Beale was sacked, although it feels a lot longer than that at times because so much has been happening, so much trauma in between times. It's not been an easy recovery, if we've recovered at all. Some people wonder if we have, but when Stephen Davis took over, it led us to a fantastic victory against St Mirren in Paisley. Very much needed league victory. Got a few young players into the team as well, and he's basically a figurehead, Steve Davis. He's just in effect, and maybe we should look at Dessers that way. Look at Cyril Dessers that way. There's nobody else in there. We no time to get somebody in. We need to take our time to get a new manager. The same way we need to get another transfer window to get a proper striker in. So if there's nobody else there, at least get behind the one person who can do the job because everybody else is too young or too unfit or whatever for the moment. It will not be long, but Steve Davis had a game before that. He'd one other game in charge of Rangers, a game before the trip to St Mirren, and that was in Limassol in Cyprus. I don't know if you know your history. Cyprus, a lot of Greek influence, a lot of Turkish influence. Most of the football teams there, they play in European competition, very much Greek influenced. And Aris Limassol, I'm doing it if you know your history because they play in green and white as an allusion to the green and white that they wore. And I think Aris is a god of war, a Greek god of war, and they had the little picture that the guys with the ancient Greek helmets, the proper helmets and the spears and that kind of thing from all your, the side of all your Greek stuff, plates and pottery and things like that. So they beat us 2-1 in Limassol, and it was humiliating. Remember John Lundstrom couldn't run back and that kind of thing, and just they beat us in the Europa League group stages. The group stages it was then, when it was only 4 teams per group and there was many groups. And RS Limassol were supposed to be the whipping boys of our group, and they whipped our ass over there. And it's one of the most humiliating defeats in our history. They were too hard on, certainly going to be hard on Stephen Davis. Like I say, only a figurehead, only guy that had the guts to step up and try and do the job. So we've got to thank him for that. And he's a legend anyway. Stephen Davis won't have a word said against him. But since then, we haven't lost. Over a year later, we still haven't lost another European away game. That was the last European away game that we lost. Philippe Clement has taken us to... Where did he go first? Right, his first game in charge last season, he went to Prague, Sparta Prague, always dangerous. They'd beaten us a couple of seasons before over there. Hostile crowd, to say the least. Tight wee stadium. Team with a good reputation. A club, in football in terms anyway. And 0-0, a fighting 0-0. We're trying to rescue this group that had already started, that defeat to RS Limassol, and then we went to, where did we go next? Oh yeah, we went to Betis, we went to Seville. It was a return trip to Seville as Michel Hidalgo calls France, winning Euro 84 in France after 2 years after they'd lost to West Germany in the semi-finals of the World Cup on penalties in the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan in Sevilla, where we had lost. But he was just talking about a figurative return to Seville. We actually returned to Seville. We went to the Benito Villamarin and played Real Betis and recorded our first ever win against Spanish opposition on Spanish soil. The only other time we'd won in European competition in Spain was at the time we won only the final against Moscow Dynamo in Barcelona. 1972, Collinstein scored one. I think Willie Johnson got a couple, but we went on an actual trophy that time, but it was a neutral venue, strictly speaking. This was the first time we'd beaten Spanish opposition. It's been absolutely mega. We topped the group from nowhere, and we got through to the knockout round, and we faced Benfica, one of the most famous clubs in the world. Went to the Estadio da Luz, and we drew 2-2. We drew 2 each, went toe-to-toe, 2-2 with Benfica, one of the greatest clubs on the planet, and it was an absolutely fantastic game. Ultimately, we go out, but it's really tight at Ibrox as well. And then this season we've got Dynamo Kiev. Also, we go out as well in the tie, the third qualifying round of the Champions League. But when we played Dynamo Kiev, away for us, they're also playing away from their home country because of everything Vladimir Putin's doing. But we play them in Poland and we draw 1 each, and a certain Cyril Dessers equalises really late on. So Dynamo Kiev away from home, that's a fairly epic, old historic European tie. Quite a creditable result over there. And then this season we go to Malmo. So later on this season, when they drop into the Europa League, we go to Malmo and we win for the first time ever against Swedish opposition. Any game, home or away, against Swedish opposition, we beat Malmo, the Swedish champions, and almost Swedish champions elect for a second season in a row. When we play them, and we beat them 2-0, going on 10-0, just kind of hitting on the counter, and absolutely fantastic performance. And then tonight, here we are. We're away to Olympiacos, who are a European trophy holder. They've got a manager, Mendele Bar, who won the Conference League for them last season, the first time a Greek side's ever won a European trophy, and the season before that he won the Europa League with Sevilla, beating Roma, managed by the one and only Jose Mourinho in the final. First time Jose Mourinho's ever lost a European final, and he's been in a few, and this is the guy. This guy is wise, is wizened, he knows what he's doing, this manager we were up against tonight, and we're up against him in the Karaiskakis Stadium, Olympiacos Stadium in Piraeus, which is just absolutely louping, one of the most fearsome venues in world football. They're on a great run just now as well. At home, fantastic reputation. Everyone's been over there, and we held them. We drew 1-1 tonight. That's the long and short of it. And it's just, it's really emotional for me, obviously, because it's all about me. These things, it's totally solipsistic. It's all about me. It's really emotional, right, for me, because actually, 40 years ago today, the 7th of November, 1984, I went to my first ever European club match. I'm going to try and show you the ticket here. I've got it in a frame. See, I love European club football. And that was, I actually started falling in love with it before I went to my first game. But it's back to front because I'm terrible with the technical stuff when it comes to recording these. But it's Rangers versus Inter. Still so old that we're calling it Inter Milan. But Internazionale of Milan, of San Siro frame, the first European club match I went to. That's kind of spoiled for your first game. You should really start off with a wee, Cypriot team or something like that. But no, Rangers versus Inter Milan, and we beat them 3-1 in the second leg of the UEFA Cup second round. In the old yellow section, a fiver to get in there. We were 3-0 down from the first leg, so ultimately we went out on the night. We lost 3-0 in the San Siro in the first game. Trip down memory lane, this won't take long. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge scored it. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, two-time European Footballer of the Year, two-time Ballon d'Or, scored for West Germany in the World Cup final and stuff like that. He played for West Germany 2 World Cup finals. He scored in that first leg in the San Siro where they pounded us 3-0. I remember watching the highlights on Sports Scene or Sports Night, whatever it was. And he scored a goal that was disallowed because it was an overhead kick and his foot was so high in the air that it was deemed dangerous play by the referee. And years later, I read this interview with Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, and he was saying, the guy just asked him, "What's your favourite goal? All the goals you've scored, what's your favourite goal?" He says it was actually disallowed. It was an overhead kick against Rangers at the San Siro. It's the best, and it was an absolute cracker. The execution was phenomenal, totally athletic, gymnastic stuff. But there you go. They came back to Ibrox, and we scored straight away. Davy Mitchell scored. We absolutely pounded them. We're talking about a team here with Walter Zenga in goals, Bergame, centre-half, Liam Brady, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, and Alessandro Altobelli, who'd scored in the 1982 World Cup final. Davy Mitchell, the Australian international that played for Rangers, he goes in there, Cammy Fraser has a shot, Walter Zenga saves it and goes down. Anyway, we scored, that was it. The comeback was on, Jock Wallace's Rangers, and the beautiful thing about those days, that kind of wee phase in the early to mid-80s in Europe where it was decided that the home team would wear their away kit. Rangers also shot towards the Copeland in the first half as well. We must have lost the toss or whatever. I was in the Govan front. So it was really weird. We were in the away kit and we're shooting towards the Copeland in the first half. But it meant I got to see Inter wearing their Nerazzurri. I saw Rangers all the time, obviously, wearing their home strip. But I got to see the famous Inter Nerazzurri kit. It was mind-blowing. It was so exotic at the time. And I knew enough about Inter, obviously. The first team I get to see in European competition against Rangers is the team that Celtic beat in the 1967 European Cup final. My obsession with which is why I think I've come to work out eventually. It's why I'm so obsessed with European football. And I want to see Rangers do it one day. And we took lead alone, but then Alessandro Altobelli equalised on the night, effectively killed the tie. That was it. It meant they'd had an away goal, and the days were away goals, counted double in the event of a draw. But what it meant to me was I'd seen a guy who'd scored in the World Cup final scoring in the flesh. It was quite a thrill, and it was up the end of the Govan. It was up into the Brimley, but I was sitting up the Brimley end of the Govan that night. But then Ian Ferguson, the original Ian Ferguson, they wanted to score against big, massive European teams for Hearts and Dundee United before that. He puts one in the top corner, second half, he scores another one, and it's 3-1, a real fighting chance. We smashed them on the night, but it wasn't enough to go through. But what a debut that was for me, and I've been to like 120 to 130 or something European games since. I mean, the home and away with Villarreal, when we were the first Scottish team to get through the knockout stages, or post-group stages of the Champions League, that was one of the most thrilling experiences of my life. Getting baton charged by the Guardia Civil in the back streets outside El Madrigal was up there with, going to, I went to, the new camp to see us playing Barcelona, but eventually became the run to Manchester. I was at the final in Manchester as well. So that kind of made me feel as if I'd really experienced everything that the folk who were there in 1972 experienced. That was quite a good combination. But fantastic. The night against RB Leipzig, I know you really, no, come on, enough, stop sending the flowers, stop asking, Alec, please give us more of your really interesting European memories. Don't just be an old man talking, listing all the games that he's been to. Late equaliser in the Dodragal against Porto, that was absolutely fantastic being at that one. But the greatest night ever, just the greatest football match I have ever been at was the night we beat RB Leipzig, obviously 3-1 to get to the final in Seville. That was just the greatest. I hope we do one better. But the main person, the main person I want to pay tribute to, the person who's in my heart tonight after this I think, a basically moral victory for Rangers tonight. It's a chap that I bumped into. I went to see Scotland women against Jamaica's women, and before the 2019 Women's World Cup, there was a game at Hampden to kind of see the team off to France for the 2019 Women's World Cup, and there was 18,000 there or something like that. It was the biggest crowd ever for a women's match in Scotland, and I was there mainly because I got it for free because SFA membership thing. I pay that all the time every 2 years, so I've got priority for a ticket. I'd support football in this country. It's the idea that Rangers supporters are kind of somehow living more. No, we fund your football. But I was at that gate, and there's a guy coming in. It was kind of mad, the ticket, and it's a real family atmosphere. It was fantastic. Lots of kids there, and I think it was really lovely. And this fella came in and sat next to me, and he had his two grandkids with him. Wasn't that old, the guy, but he was two grandkids with him. Lovely fella, starts talking to me straight away. Bit of an accent, and I realised the way he was a kind of a host, almost because he had his own restaurant. He was a restaurant owner in Bells Hill. And I think, and straight away he's telling me, right, you've got to come to my restaurant. It's one of the best restaurants. It's one of these prizes. I can't remember the name of it now, but I looked it up when I got home, like he was telling me to. And it has, I think it's like the best Greek restaurant in Britain. Something I'd won it like 3 years in a row, or best restaurant in Scotland. Never mind Greek thing, just best restaurant bar none. If you come from Bells Hill, you will know this place. I hope it's still on the go. And I hope he's still on the go. But he's sitting, he's chatting away to me, and he's saying, "Oh, it's better than all this. This is better than all that old firm stuff, isn't it?" I'm going, "Oh, aye, obviously they're all animals, I hate all them." He says, "It's just so nasty and that." He says, "Why, this is all about family stuff." He was telling me, I personally, I'm involved with Bells Hill Athletic, the local junior team, and I'm like, "Oh, I know Bells Hill Athletic." And so I think he kind of sponsored them at some level, but he just basically followed them home and away. That was his football passion in Scotland. So I said, "So you never get into the Greek football?" He said, "Oh no, I'm not really interested in that. I've left, Scotland's my home now. I've left all that behind." I says, "I think because it was Olympiacos. They've won the league a few times recently, haven't they?" I was just trying to make conversation, and he was like, "Aye, well, they would do, the cheating bastards, because they've got all the officials in their pockets." And I thought, I think the claims of not being into Greek football are ringing a bit hollow there. I think you've got some kind of deep-seated issues going on with you there. And I thought, I bet just something with Bells Hill. They play Bells Hill, a particularly fecund area of Scotland when it comes to producing Scottish football talent. But they wear the gold with the black shorts, like very AEK Athens. I thought, I bet he's an AEK Athens fan. He certainly hates Olympiacos anyway, whoever he supports. So that one was for him. Lovely fella, and I hope he at least enjoyed, even though we're part of the evil old firm, I hope he at least enjoyed seeing Olympiacos being a little bit upset and only getting the draw tonight. I enjoyed watching our alpha males on Betamax video shooting the gamma rays and then multiplying all by pi until it wasn't a neoclassical away performance by Rangers. It wasn't like the Palladio, kind of Palladian dimensions, Palladian type architecture. That's Renaissance stuff. That's slightly later. That's it's a plastic version. It's a kind of an impression, apart from anything else. It's Catenaccio. That was a later development. Rangers, the very earliest years of European football, mid-50s, Rangers were there. Before the Catenaccio thing had kind of trickled down and ended up coming to Britain. Jock Stein was the first person ever to play a sweeper, maybe in British football, definitely in Scottish football, when he was manager at Dunfermline in the early 60s. He played Everton in the Old First Cup at Goodison Park, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he asked him, it's in Arts McPherson's biography of Jock Stein, I just remember he asked this guy to tell this guy, Stein had been over to Italy and studied the whole Catenaccio thing and that, and he's like, wait, just you're going to play sweeper tonight? And the guy's like, what now? You want me to get a bin? It's what I'm not playing. I'm cleaning up the dressing room. No, you're going to play sweeper. Don't. Who am I marking? Nobody. What? Mark. You're just sitting behind the defence. He basically had a stand-up fight with the fella because he didn't know what he was doing. But they put them out. They put Everton out. The First Cup, employing the sweeper. But Rangers, it's more classical. So when we went to Europe, into European football, 57, 58, I think 56, 57 was the first season we were in. Nice, we were playing next. Tonight was nice, but next is Nice. Our first ever European opponents. And we would do that. In those days, you would just go out and play as best you could. You maybe were on the back foot because you were away from home, and obviously European travel was still a bit of a rarity in those days, a bit of a culture shock, and your opponents were obviously at home. Then you just did usual stuff. But there was no, we're going to go out there and we're going to sit back, we're going to a low block or anything like that. No, you just go out and try and play the best you could. And that's what Rangers were kind of low blocking and hitting and baking that time, but it was all very easy. We're trying to, I think it was 60%, 40%, 40% possessions to Olympiacos, but there's a real nous. It was classical dimensions, actual classical dimensions. This was the Parthenon here, Corinthian, Ionic, Doric columns. Doric. Conor Barron, Aberdeen. He speaks Doric. He speaks that language. And this was the 5th time Rangers have been to Greece in European competition. Their 5th match in Greece in European competition, and we've only lost one. We haven't won any. We've drawn the other 4. But we've only beaten. We stutter and stammer there because we've only I think we've only beaten one Greek team. Ibrox beat PAOK, didn't we? Lost to AEK, drew Panathinaikos, lost at home to Panathinaikos, lost at home to AEK, and that's aye. So we've only the 4 games we played at Ibrox, we've only won one of them. We haven't won any of the ones in Greece, but we've only lost one of them. We've drawn 4, and I think it's kind of hardcore. That's a hardcore record. That's a proper footballing record. A hardcore record in a hardcore football environment. Proper scary is Greece. And I think we could actually, when it comes to going to Greek grounds in European competition, I think we could probably be their Achilles heel. Right, so, fantastic performance by Rangers tonight. I thought it was a maturity, discipline, and that kind of flow, I think, about the way we played tonight. It was, everybody knew what they were doing. It wasn't perfect by any manner of means. There was a few moments where we had those little, threatening to have those kind of lateral passes. But the great thing is, it was lateral passes. You know, Conor Barron against Leon, and the manager talking about shitty lateral passes and trying to cut them out. And they were a bit smaller tonight, and we didn't quite. We corrected them straight away quite early on in the game. But it ends up being Olympiacos, the holders of the Conference League, who get caught out by their own lateral passes. Conor Barron and Nico Raskin. I thought Diamande as well, but those two in particular were absolutely tremendous tonight. They were on it. They were properly on it. They were so concentration. They were so concentrate. The concentration was fantastic. It was so much better than mine right now. As I'm getting a bit gushy about what is essentially a draw. I know a lot of people have got a problem with it because Dessers missed a lot of chances, but I just see it as being defence. We're creating chances up front, right? We're not putting them away, but it's keeping away from our own goal. It's keeping the threat up. It's making Olympiacos think they've got to be a bit careful with how they're going forward. And I really enjoyed that game. It was tense as anything. It was a proper chess match. I think I've tried to work this out. I could be wrong. I've been known to be wrong before, and always, double check. Always double check any factoids given to you by your fat Uncle Alec, because before you go and mention them to your pals in the pub or whatever, because they're probably going to be wrong. But as far as I can see, the last time we in European competition came up against, directly met a holder of a European competition, was when we played Galatasaray in the 2000-2001 Champions League group stages. And they came to Ibrox, and last time we didn't lose to a holder of a European trophy in European competition was the night we drew 0-0. The last time we played Galatasaray. It's not the last time we played Galatasaray, of course, because we beat them in the 55 season to get ourselves into the Europa League group stages. But we played them in the old Champions League group stages before that, 2000-2001. We drew them at Ibrox, and they were the holders of the UEFA Cup, which they'd won by beating Arsenal in penalties in Copenhagen the previous season. And it was Yanis Hadji's dad, Georgie Hadji. He was the star man, the diva, and he was behaving like a total diva that night. I was in the Govan that night as well, and I just remember him going a strop all the time, but it's absolutely no danger of him ever losing the ball. He was a strop with everybody else who didn't know what to do with it as well as he did. And we drew 0-0 with them then. Group stage, there was no really kind of knockout thing going on there, but I think they directly did knock us into 4th place. They probably went through in 3rd. Or maybe they won the group. I think, did they win the group? I can't remember. But the first game, we'd played them beforehand over in Istanbul, and they beat us 3-2. Remember, they were 3-0 up, and we scored 2 goals late on to make it respectable. But so it was a bit better to think of the previous time we had played the holder of a European trophy, which was the season before that. When we played Parma, who'd won the 1999 UEFA Cup. And they put us out en route. And I was at that game. They put us out en route. I was at the game at Ibrox anyway. And so the next season, when they were holders of the UEFA Cup, we put them at the Champions League qualifiers, as you will well remember. And a goal scored by Tony Vidmar that night in that home leg against Parma. So that's the last time we beat a properly good result, an unavoidably good result against a European trophy holder. So we're talking quarter of a century ago. And Tony Vidmar obviously scored famously the opening goal that night against Parma at Ibrox from Australia. Obviously, Tony Vidmar. But when I think about us playing Greek teams in Greece, we drew 0-0. We lost 1-0 to AEK 30 years ago. We've only been playing Greek teams in European competition for 30 years, which is fairly recent in terms of European competition, going on since the mid-50s. We lost 2-0 to AEK in near Philadelphia, and then 98 we drew 0-0 with PAOK in the tomb, but to put them out, but we drew 0-0 over there. So the next 2 times we played Panathinaikos, It was Emerson's. We drew 1 each both times at Panathinaikos ground. We drew 1 each the first time in the Champions League, and it was Emerson of Brazil who scored. The Brazilian Emerson who scored for us that night. And the next time we played them, putting them at the UEFA Cup in the run to Manchester, it was Nacho Novo who scored. Spanish. And now tonight, it's Cyril Dessers, born in Belgium, but plays for Nigeria. So that's South American, European, African. If only Tony Vidmar had scored against Panathinaikos as well, we could be going for all the continents scoring in Greece when we play against. Just keep your eyes on that, Trips. Just do that for me, would you? I'm probably not going to be lasting much longer on this earth. I'm a stroke or a heart attack waiting to happen, but keep your eye on that one. Keep that fire burning. For Uncle Alec, just I hope we can get somebody from Micronesia to score in Greece. I'm getting I better talk about the game. We'll talk about the actual game here, right? Because there's a major thing happening. I'm forgetting, and it just shows you. I came to terms with Tav, being phased out slowly. I could see it was happening. It was under Philippe Clement about a month ago, and I did it was a preview to the St Johnstone game on the Sunday night in the league. The preview to that one. If you go down through see my thumbnails on this wee page, you'll see St Johnstone preview, and it's got a card, a fancy card, like an invitation, because it was an invitation to Rangers versus St Johnstone in the early 90s. I went with it as a corporate thing. I get somebody from my work, guys that were trying to sell us stuff, took me to that game, corporate stuff, and it was great. It was a nice day out, but that's just, look, if you see that, and I do my whole thing about it, I'm ready for Tav to be, but didn't know it was going to happen. And before the game tonight, we were told by TNT there'd been three big calls by Philippe Clement when it came to team selection, and there wasn't. There was one fairly kind of interesting call. All right, okay. Balogun wasn't playing at centre half with John Souttar as he was on Sunday. I'm coming off early in that one, struggling a bit, Leon Balogun. So we kind of thought Casanvirjo, who came on for him on Sunday, was going to come in tonight. We're all quite impressed with Casanvirjo at centre half, but it was Proper. It was Robin Proper. This is why we know the door isn't really closed for Tav, because Robin Proper seemed that he was gone. He was done the previous Sunday against St Mirren, when he get ragdolled through that game and get taken off. Very notably after just half an hour of the game to go, because he was struggling. Philippe Clement is not afraid to make these decisions. But also, as even with Todd Cantwell last season, in the game against Aris Limassol, which Philippe Clement drew at Ibrox, he took Todd Cantwell off, after 30 odd minutes because he wasn't following instruction. It totally embarrassed him. But then I think he brought him into the starting 11 for the next game. He doesn't. It's not a case of once you're done, you're out the door. That's it. But simultaneously, he's obviously not. I think a lot of people think James Tavernier is holding the manager hostage or something like that. That's why he keeps getting selected. It's not. It's because he's the best player for the position, as far as the manager's concerned. So he will drop him when he needs to, and he has done. But Proper was back in the fold tonight. I know a lot of people think Robin Proper is. Some people say he's too Dutch, but Dutch are really physical, because Casanvirjo, who we wanted to come in from, he's Dutch as well. He's born in Amsterdam, plays for Feyenoord. But Robin Proper doesn't seem the most physical of players, particularly with what happened to him during that St Mirren game at Ibrox. But he came in tonight, and maybe it's because it was more of a chess match, and certainly him playing the ball forward with a bit more culture, perhaps, than Casanvirjo's capable of. It really came in handy tonight. It was the thing that was needed, and it was, that was fair. We were like, all right, okay, it's Popper's back. That's interesting. Diamande coming in to play at 10 instead of the injured Tom Lawrence. That was totally expected. Everybody pretty much. There was talk of, would we get Nadim Bajrami coming in to play at 10? Maybe McCausland or somebody on the left-hand side, but we weren't surprised in any way, really, when Diamande came in to play at 10. But it wasn't 3 big calls. It was just 2 kind of minor calls, and the biggest call, certainly of this season, perhaps of the last 10 years, when James Tavernier was not in the starting 11 tonight. The club captain not in the starting 11. It was also a kind of retrospective, a clarification of why he was taken off. It seemed to be a clarification of why Tav was taken off on Sunday, because although he got a lot of criticism for his performance at Hampden against Motherwell on Sunday, and the hour or so, nearly 70 minutes that he was on the park, I watched it back now. I'm biased. I do love Tav, but I knew he wasn't having a perfect game, and obviously one of the last things he did in that game was have a kind of point blank miss, which was a kind of difficult chance for a fullback. But I didn't think it was as bad as people were making out. But still wasn't a good game. But I thought maybe there's a chance that Clement is just resting him, taking him off early, even if it is one each at the time. He does this as well. I'm looking forward to Thursday night. Says Clement. Off comes Tav, so he can start in Greece, because when Tav came off and I watched it back in the telly, he was blowing hard, he was out of breath, so he's struggling. So I don't know if it was just the manager saying, I want you to, keep your stamina for Thursday, or it was just like, you're knackered, you're having a terrible game. It looks like it was the latter case tonight. It's a kind of a retrospective judgment on his performance on Sunday, a kind of official stamp on it wasn't good enough, and then he's not starting tonight. And it's huge, it's massive, and it wasn't made any better from Tav's point of view with the interview in TNT, the pre-match interview on the trackside, with the stadium over there, not even a tenth full probably, but still a hell of a noise coming out. It's such a din they make, the Olympiacos fans. Philippe Clement is asked, why have you dropped James Tavernier tonight? And he basically, because he had to shout his answer, but he basically said, because their outside left's really good. It's like, oh, their outside left's really fast. Brought in Dujon Sterling, which everybody wanted. Other louder fans or more reactionary fans certainly wanted Dujon Sterling to come in, and very quiet, educated fans as well wanted Dujon Sterling to come in. That's the general message from the support. And Dujon Sterling did come in tonight to start instead of Tav, but that got interesting as well. But I think it sounds a bit crass. Managers basically their outside left's really good, so Tav's not good enough. It was a comment on the fact that Tav is also the gamble. He's also been every time I've been defending him, or people are criticising him for his he's slow at his back post when we concede goals, and he's defensively really. This is up until this season when he was like a car crash against Aberdeen. Nobody's doubting that up at Pittodrie, but generally, you have a couple of times a season where he's really culpable for a goal we've lost. But I'll say, but this is the thing, it's the gamble. It's what most kind of modern football teams do. You're not a fullback in the old sense. Primarily you're a wing back if you're not actually an auxiliary outside right or attacking player. It's all about, overloads and what have you. Tav is there to attack and get attacks going more than he is there to defend. And I think that's proven. The manager's just like, no, we need somebody who can defend tonight, primarily defend, playing it right back. So that was a bit of a criticism. This is like Tav isn't. He's just saying no, he's not good enough defensively, basically. But I still think it's the most humane possible kind of phasing out of Tav, if that's what's happening. It seems to have been. I mean, it goes right back to the game at Canada. It's the only away game they've won domestically this season. That's what people are saying to me. He's unbeaten away from home in Europe, but can only win one game domestically away from home. And it's okay. That's a conversation to be had, but. The game against Dundee United at Tannadice was it 2 minutes into 3 minutes of injury time or something like that. The board goes up with Tav's number on it, and Casamigos getting stripped and ready to come on, and then Clement changes his mind and doesn't happen. And Tav finishes the game, and it's almost as if he was just getting used to the sight of Tav's number going up, maybe getting Tav used to it as well. This is a possibility. This is going to happen. And up goes the board, but then gets brought back down. And then I don't know, was it maybe Dundee? In the League Cup, first game back at Ibrox, we'll be 3-0 up in that game, and it was like, we'll take Tav off, but we'll get Casemiro on. Or there's other games where it's like, I will get Casemiro on, and we'll move Tav up to the right wing, so he's not getting taken off, he's just getting his position moved, and he's maybe just getting taken off to bring on the young boy, because the game's done, to give him a few minutes, and then we get Sunday, and then we get tonight, where it eventually happens. It's been happening gradually, and I don't know, there's all this talk about what happened with Philippe Clement during the summer, when he's negotiating his extra year in his contract because there was certain assurances that weren't met, assurances that had been made to him in October when he first joined the club, that there wasn't enough players there, and he knew he was going to get hassle from the fans because of this. He wasn't going to be able to get us to a level of performance that we demanded. So there's an ongoing negotiations. He gets an extra year in his contract, and I wonder if something like that's happened with Tav, who we all thought was going to leave. We thought he was going to leave during the summer, and then he stays. Has the manager said, I've not got the amount of kind of not big name signings, but experienced pros, guys who can just go straight into the first team. I've not got the money that was promised. I can't get those players. Can you stay here and help bed in the new guys that we do have? And there's a lot of change. We need some level of consistency, because there's no consistency in the boardroom. As committed as Clement now is, he's still a new manager to Rangers. So it was I don't know if that's something, and Tav, like, we'll get you your testimonial if you just stay on till January or whatever. Maybe we'll gradually phase you out once we can get Sterling and Casemiro up to speed. Maybe something like that's happened. That's just completely made up, a complete theorising from myself. But it was wild. Jack Butland has got the captain's armband in the tunnel as they're waiting to go into the park tonight, and he's delighted. And he's joking with the mascots. He's chatting away to the opposition captain. I don't want that. Psych the guy out. And he's wearing the same kit as the referee as well, which I thought was really strange. But of course, I'm having a go at Jack Butland. I hate Jack Butland. I don't hate Jack Butland at all. This was on the Jersnet podcast on Sunday night after the game. I'm totally hangry. I just hadn't had the 3 courses that I usually have on a Sunday night before I had to go on that pod. And I think because Jack Butland has made some really huge mistakes that have cost us cups, for example, and doesn't get anywhere near the level of abuse that Tav gets, because he's been there and won his cups. I find that really, and it's not Jack Butland's fault, although he did make a big play of getting in Tav's face after that goal that we conceded to Motherwell on Sunday, as if he was saying, he knew that he should have probably come out to cut out that cross as a goalkeeper, but it's like he was making it out that animatedly on the park, letting everybody see that he was blaming Tav. But maybe Tav had a go at him when the cameras weren't on him, so I don't know. But I'm reminded of it's a week for US presidents, a week for talk about presidents, but the only episode of The West Wing, only scene from The West Wing that I remember, Martin Sheen playing the president, is when he goes into a room. I think it's a Democratic president, goes into a room, and there's a bitter old Republican woman, a kind of Bible thumper, who's, as usual, is, basically approves of slavery and, doesn't want abortion to happen and stuff like that, and hates gayness, hates any kind of gayness, and she hates him because he's Democratic. So she doesn't stand up when he enters. He goes into the room. It's a meeting or some sort of kind of cross bench meeting or something, and she doesn't stand up, because she hates this guy that Martin Sheen's playing, and he takes her up to task with the quotes that she's quoting the Bible to him, and he quotes it back at her chapter and verse with all this stuff about loving your neighbour and all the crazy stuff that's in the Bible. And then he says to her, you might hate me personally, you might hate my particular policies, but you will respect the office of president. You'll respect the position that I hold. It's not about me, it's about the position. You will stand for the president of the United States. And that's what I'm going to do for Jack Butland. If he's got the captain's armband on, I am respecting the office of captain of Rangers. We went out onto the park tonight, and there was some strange banners. I'm going to set the scene for you. Because I want to relive that scene. There was this a minute's silence for Valencia, which was absolutely beautiful, beautifully observed, and it's a great thing because Valencia, apart from anything else, it's an absolute tragedy they've been through, but they mean so much in European football. They're such a great name in the history of European football. Cup winners, cup finals, Fairs Cup, UEFA Cup, a couple of Champions League finals. Seen them, twice at Ibrox myself, and played Rangers 3 times in Europe, and it was nice. And then there's this big banner behind the goal, behind the kind of home goal, the home end with all their ultras, and it's massive. And it was the only bit I could make out was same blood. It said same blood in red writing. This is in English. I'm not reading Greek here. You're seeing it yourself. But I'm thinking, anybody starts talking about blood, blood in the soil, and that, it's a bit kind of Nazi-ish. I'm thinking, that's a bit weird. I wonder if they're kind of fascist supporters or whatever. And then eventually we get a corner down that side, because we did get corners in the near side, and I saw the rest of it, and it says same colours, same blood. And it's like, oh my God, is it about skin colour as well? Is this totally racial? And then I saw in between, enshrouded in a laurel wreath, it was the Olympiacos badge, Olympiacos crest, and the Red Star Belgrade, Crvena Zvezda Belgrade crest. I thought, all right, they've got the same strip, red and white stripes. So maybe that's interesting. They've got a wee Freundschaft going on. They've got a wee friendship going on. That's fine. And there's a couple of kind of bed sheet type banners, along the way, just thin ones along the front row. In the stand opposite the cameras, this one's just going right across the halfway line. It was, and I kept noticing it, and it was it's like somebody done it in basically felt tip pen or something like that, and there was a big number at the end of it. I thought, that's a phone number. No, it just looks like, phone numbers and abroad. They've got different dialing codes and that, and the phone number was is it 01112024? And I thought, oh, I wonder what they're doing here. I wonder if that's an advert for somebody's business, maybe like a restaurant owner on Bells Hill, or is this like get in touch with this guy, somebody they hate? Is it a referee's phone number? They found that the referee, like, everybody phoned this guy and totally abused him or something like that. And it got up, the camera's got, the ball went up that side, and it was actually 01.11.2020. It's just the 1st of November 2024. There was some sort of, I don't know what it was supposed to be happening there, and it said Hellas and Serbia, Greece and Serbia, and Resta Bulgaria, Serbia. And I thought, oh, this is what it is. It's a kind of Orthodox church, Christian Orthodox thing, Serbs and Greeks. Same blood, same skin. I thought, what if there's a movement? Is there a populist? But I don't really know my politics that well for that part of the world. I know populism sweeping the world, but is there a kind of Orthodox Christian populism? You get Serbia, you get the Greeks, the Russians, obviously, so that would be bad news if they're getting in with them. It's Armenians, Bulgaria, they've got the metropoles and that kind of thing. They're Orthodox, so that was a wee bit. Imagine being into religion and football, getting them mixed up. Absolutely disgraceful. But we sat in and kind of hit them in the break. We tried to out Olympiacos. We mirrored them. We're really disciplined. There was a few that say these shitty lateral passes inside. I think Diamondi had a kind of crappy shot through the edge of the box early on in that half. Cherny had a crappy shot for the edge of the box. No, a very safe shot, very tame towards the end of that half. But the main thing for us was we were defending fantastically. John Suter was really good, I thought, at that point in time. Proper certainly was doing fine. And I said, Diamandi, he was ferocious. Cherny, pretty ferocious, but Raskin and Connor Barron were flipping on fire. They had a few duff passes at one point, but they corrected them. I thought Nico Raskin was actually flying at some point. It was great. I don't want to go OTT about it. Maybe Rangers have just been so bad this season domestically that I'm going to go OTT about it. But some of the stuff he was doing was quite thrilling, very literally thrilling. But we had about 4 shots on goal, or 4 attempts on goal within the first kind of 17 minutes that were all through Cyril Dessers. And it's because we're firing the ball forward vertically. We're obviously, it was getting to the point where at one point their number 10 is Mertens. He filled Dujon Sterling deep inside our half. So right down basically in the classic right back area. And it was just on the touchline. And as the referee blows for the foul, does the usual thing of turning to complain to the referee. But while he's complaining to the referee, he backheeled the ball. Sterling's on the deck, but he backheeled the ball out of play, kind of towards the stand, as if to say, I am not going to give them the chance. It's from any part of the pitch, no matter how far up. In fact, the further you were in enemy territory, the more endangered you felt about your own goal, because both teams knew what their game was about. Olympiacos, we saw them against Aston Villa last season in particular. I watched both those legs. The semi-final of the Conference League, they blew them away by sitting deep and just pouncing on Villa around about midfield and going right through the middle of them. And we were, obviously, the Barron and Raskin let it be known that was a real possibility for us to do to them as well. So when both teams were attacking each other from a couple of corners during the game, the opposition are straight, the team that are taking the corner pretty soon find themselves under pressure at the back. It was kind of high stakes chess. I know this new stupid Conference League, Europa League, Champions League, 36 team group thing, this new system this season, it's called the Swiss system, and I thought it was because FIFA and UEFA are in Switzerland. They were just being a bit arrogant, a bit self-centred, but they were going, we'll call it Swiss system because it's been designed in Switzerland. We've sat at a desk in Switzerland design. No, it's named after a chess tournament. There's other sport, any tournament, any sport that's got a group stage where not everybody plays everybody, which is bogus anyway, but that's what it's named after. But primarily it's known for chess. So they're so arrogant, they won't even, these tournaments that they're mucking up for us, they won't even name them after anything to do with football. It's chess, but yet tonight that was actually pretty opposite, because it was quite apt, because it was a bit of a chess match, even though not in a slow sense. It was very energetic, very fluid game. But yeah, both teams were waiting to catch each other out. Round about half-hour mark, they started, their manager was cracking up. The manager was starting to crack up. He's having a go at the players. The players are kind of having a narc back at him. And I thought this is starting to work. But we'd had Rangers fans watching the game were be frustrated because we'd had these kind of 4 chances of increasing scoreability through Cyril Dessers. Because we're firing the ball straight forward, it's coming through the middle to him. And Cyril Dessers isn't fast. It's not his fault he's in that role. It's not his fault. He's the only guy around that we can use as a striker. We play a 4-2-3-1, as do Olympiacos. But he would one would get fired forward and he couldn't quite get in the end of it. Then another one get fired forward and he managed to get forward and couldn't quite get the shot away or something like that. Then he had one where he was through on the goalie and the goalie saved it. He should have done better. But the worst one for me, maybe the 4th one in that kind of spell at the beginning of the first half, was when Czerny kind of hits the byline and pulls it back across the goal the same way that Connor Barron did on Sunday for Dessers' goal against Motherwell. And I think that's his best. That's what he's probably going to be most comfortable with, Cyril Dessers. But it's not how we play just now. If we can get somebody hitting the byline and pulling the ball back across, that's really deadly. And he got into the end of this one, and he got in there first, and he got the shot away. And it wasn't as straightforward as it looked. He's only about a few yards out, though. It was kind of point blank. The goalkeeper made a good save, but he should really have put it away. But an indication of that he's capable of doing that. And we don't play to his strengths. And Dessers, for me, is only the most kind of easily identifiable fault in a team that's full of faults. We don't, for example, we forget that we don't have an out-and-out 6. We're playing a 4-2-3-1, a system that relies on a 6, and we don't have a 6. Nico Raskin's becoming one overnight almost. But that's an adjustment for him still. And we've forgotten about the fact we don't have a left winger. We don't have the outside left, whatever you want to call it, the wide left player in this system. Bajrami is essentially a 10. He can play wide left, but he's obviously not perfectly suited to it. And that would free up Bajrami to go to 10. So all these things, but we've still got to sort out the best combination with the centre halves as well. All these things are a massive problem, a much bigger problem than Dessers. But because Dessers is the guy who gets the ball where he's supposed to get the ball, but has this really obvious part of his game that's not working, that he's not fast enough, he can't hold up the ball and he can't shoot. Bad for a striker. He gets more abuse than anybody else, and I think we witnessed tonight, just me make the mistake of going on Twitter after the game to just say a few nice things. People instantly get in touch, just want to go on about how Dessers was doing their nut and don't want to see him playing for Rangers again. All this kind of stuff. He's become the lightning rod now. It's almost like we've almost ended the Tav war for everybody who thinks Tav was every problem we ever had. So he's finally been, the manager's dropped him from the starting 11 tonight. And it's went straight to Dessers. We need to have an easily understandable way of explaining why Rangers aren't doing well enough, because the long-term, plan, it's just too much work. We don't have to contemplate that. So it's really bad. But we had these chances. The main thing was when we're attacking, it means we're taking the pressure off our own goal. It's keeping Olympiacos on their toes. Proper had a good foul on the back of El Kabi after about kind of 42 minutes. Their crowd started whipping up in that kind of frenzy of paranoid rage just when it got into the kind of towards half time, and it wasn't going very, very, very Parkhead. A lot of OTT diving from their players after that point. Their goalkeeper was trying to start a Rami. One of us out of nothing at a corner. In injury time, about 46th minute, we broke on them really well, but we couldn't score. And it just basically through that whole first half, it's quite beautiful actually. We gave up almost zero kind of chances on our goal. We stopped them at the edge of our box, and it was quite nice to see their crowd try to whip themselves up in a kind of bit of hysteria. That's another Greek word there, coming from the Greek, hysterics. So we came out in the second half, and they had changed about the personnel in their back four, and we were even better. We were playing even better. And it was kind of opening up a bit. It was the least chess matchy bit of the whole game, I think, and it was really suiting us. They were going more aerial all of a sudden. They were opening up. Obviously, their manager had said something about they don't look that good in the air at the back, so they were hitting a few more high balls. But then, 52 minutes, Sterling come off. The manager was having a word with him. I haven't seen post-match press reaction, so if there's anything been revealed, if there's an injury or whatever, and the manager did say pre-match that there'd been a big Sterling. Big Dujon had been struggling all season with a kind of a low-level injury that was affecting his speed. But they have the wee chat that Clement always has. He always has an intense chat with people, whether it be opposition managers or his own players. And they had a wee kind of intense chat, and it's difficult to tell with Big Dujon because he's not the most emotive person in the world. You couldn't say if he was really pissed off angry at being taken off, or if he was pissed off at being injured, or he understood what was happening. But the manager's having quite an intense chat with him. I don't know, maybe he's giving him instructions at half time that he's given him 7 minutes to see if he's going to follow them out, and Dujon hasn't followed out these instructions, so off you come, Casemiro. So we just think that whole thing at right back's been solved. Dujon coming on, but no, he gets hooked off as well, and it's Casemiro coming on for our first substitution, and it was just shortly after that they scored. I don't know if that interrupted our flow, even though it eventually came down the other side. But even then, we almost caught them. We'd almost caught them in the break, round at the halfway line. They just got away with nicking a wee ball away from Conor Barron, I think it was, maybe. And it just shows the kind of high stakes, the kind of knife edge the game was balanced on. Anyway, they put the ball into our box. It's this 17-year-old, the number, is it 96? He plays, what's his name, Christos Matizakis Mouzakitis. It's a very Greek name, and I'm really sorry for not getting it correct. But he puts the ball in, and it's, at first I thought, maybe, I think it was mentioned on the telly, could Butland have come out and caught this ball? But it's an absolute bastard. It's a really perfectly annoying ball from him. It's a great ball because it goes just right up, almost stands up at the very corner. It looks like it's going to the back post, but it goes to the very corner of the 6-yard box, over to our left-hand side, which means the goalie can't come for it, and it kind of catches at the centre halves. And this guy, the number 22, goes in and he nods the ball back. He heads it back, but everybody's kind of followed the ball. And El Kabi, the Moroccan, who is set the Conference League alight last season, scored the winning goal in the Conference League, scored like 5 goals against Aston Villa over the 2 legs in the semi-final. This is the last guy in the world. They're a striker. You don't want to leave him alone, and he's all alone on the penalty spot. And he has to turn round, spin round, and he leathers this thing with his left foot right into the top corner on the turn. It's a perfect finish by a man on form, and it's horrible. And I'm thinking, we're going to have to come out now. We're going to have to come out and attack them, which will suit fine. And it took us about a minute or so from kick-off, but we did attack them again. It's Casemiro piles down the right-hand side. I think it's a cross he's trying to put to the back post for Dessers, but it ends up nearly getting in the top corner. And again, straight away, that upsets me a bit. And we kept at it. It got a bit end-to-end for a wee while, and it was only basically 8 minutes later that we score, that we equalise. And that's what happens. Grew up my whole life watching big European games and what have you. Grew up my whole life. Did you grow up your whole life? I grew up my whole life watching big European games. And it was, you would see these games, chess matches, Serie A games and stuff like that. They were just 0-0, both teams cancelling each other out. But you get these other games, there was a real intensity about it, like there was tonight. But there's no goals because both teams are mirroring each other. And then there would be a goal kind of into the second half or towards the end of the first half. But because the pattern, the rhythm of the game had been set and neither team could get out of it, an equaliser almost had to happen. And if it happens straight away, that's it. It's like, oh, that was the goals then. We'll just go back to grinding out. We can't score. And that's what happened. I think as soon as we equalised, that was it. That's the goals being scored for the game. Cancelled. It was a great response from Rangers. And as I say, the thing is, we caught I can't remember the players. I don't know if it was that number 96, a 17-year-old again, but it was 2 lateral passes they tried. And it was a ball forward from Proper. Diamande stands off. Cleverly stands off, and he goes in for the guy who's got it, and it kind of puts him off a bit, and the guy knocks the ball across, and Conor Barron is on it like a shot. He knocks it inside, a bit like Conor Barron did. He's learning the ball. He is learning against Leon at Ibrox that cost the goal, and he's basically made up for that in a winner. He's repaid that in a winner, and he's gone on there, and he's latched onto this ball. It kind of bounces off the fella. He bounces off Conor Barron, and it goes towards another centre half who kind of panics, and he knocks it. Again, trying to get it to the midfielders. Another one, he tries another wee kind of inside pass, and he hits it straight to Czerny, who puts it straight through the middle to Dessers. And because the Olympiacos defence is kind of on their back feet, it just gives them that bit more time. And he's got the Betis boots on. He gives a slow kind of a mini tribute, an homage to his Seville shuffle, where it's not quite the total slaloming side to side spectacular bit of skill that he showed scoring that goal against Betis in Seville. Rory Hamilton saying he never scores big goals for Rangers. That's the only time we've ever beaten Spanish opposition in Spain. That was a pretty big goal that night. And this is a big goal tonight as well. Olympiacos defender comes running across and just sells himself, basically. He makes it a bit easier for Dessers, but Dessers shows all his experience, just a wee swivel of the hips to take all the momentum to the other side. Leaves that guy sailing away at the park, and then he just guides it with his, I think it was his left foot, right over to the far corner and down the inside of the side net, and beautiful finish, really calm celebration for the big fella who knows how much pressure he's under. That's 2-2, and I've got people getting in touch with me on Twitter saying, no, don't. He's got 2 goals in 2 games. Don't start saying that he should be in the team all the time. He does this. He goes on streaks. 8 games was it without scoring a goal. Before that, he'd like 6 or 7 goals across 7 or 8 games towards the start of this season. This is what he does, Cyril Dessers, and nobody else is doing it for us. So that'll do fine for me. Absolutely great finish. We've equalised straight away, and then it was kind of back and forth. They've got more of the game than us, generally more of the ball, but we're breaking on them like every kind of 2 minutes, right up until the 84-minute mark, and we substitute 3 substitutions. Tav comes on to replace Cherny on the right-hand side, not at right back. He goes on to place Cherny wide right. Ross McCausland comes on for Nadim Bajrami on the left-hand side. And Igamane, the Moroccan wunderkind, he comes on for Dessers. Because basically, all 3 of them are absolutely knackered by this point, the amount of work they've put in. But Barron and Raskin remain on that pitch. They're going nowhere. Igamane gets booked straight away again. He did this against St Mirren. 10 out of 10 for enthusiasm, wee man. And there's lots of raw talent there, but he's got to calm it a bit, because a few minutes later, they've got a big strapping centre-half fella. Absolute monster, that guy. And he goes up for an aerial challenge, which isn't even a challenge, with Igamane, and he puts his neck down towards Igamane's arm and starts writhing about the ground. Absolutely pathetic fashion, but he's opened himself up to that kind of stuff. A lack of experience. But I think when Igamane comes on, you see the only way we ever appreciate anything at Rangers, once it's gone. And in that vein, when Dessers went off, you see that although he can't do so many of the basics, Cyril Dessers, the one thing he does is he keeps the shape. So he leads. He doesn't lead the line like Mark Hateley or anything like that, but he gives us a shape. He gives us a point of attack. He gives a point of reference for our strikers, our midfielders. But more than that, he gives a point of reference for the Olympiacos defenders. We've got to stay here. We've got to watch this guy. He occupies them. He can occupy opposition teams that way. And I think you saw when Igamane, who's maybe got a better touch at times and stuff like that, and hopefully will come on to be a much better player, you can see he's running about kind of headless chicken style. The shape goes a bit and things break down a bit better. But it got to a point where Tav went up front. He sent a ball through. Tav just kind of comes into the right-hand side, and he's going up front with 2 of the centre-halves, going up, I think, jumping up for the ball. And you're thinking, yeah, Tav, when you go, just finish it off. What a great response that would be to get benched to come and score the winner. But not only did it not happen, you're then worried about a break on us, and it was just really tense. And you're thinking, is Aeschylus going to intervene? He's the Greek tragedy. The god of tragedy, Greek tragedies. The Greeks did tragedy. There's a pun in there. Are we going to be denied the nectar and the ambrosia of an away point? At some point, even at that point, I'm thinking maybe we need a goal, go 2-1 up just to make sure we get a draw, because it would have been absolutely heartbroken. I don't believe in deserve. I don't believe football's too cruel for, but I would have been really gutted. I thought we definitely deserved a point from the way we played this game. And it got to the point where Diomande had the ball, and I remember looking at the clock, it was 4 minutes injury time, and it was 93 minutes, 55 seconds on the clock, and he got dispossessed up towards the end of just the way this game went, the whole game. He got dispossessed outside their box. A couple of times we had too much of the ball almost, with too much comfort and possession outside their box, and that's the time it's most dangerous for us. Same thing for Olympiacos, and this was just summing it up. They put the ball out to the left-hand side, halfway line. Nico Raskin takes a booking. I think we only get 3 bookings all night. They only get 2. But a lot of fouls going on, stopping each other, cancelling each other. A lot of niggly stuff. And Raskin takes him out, so that's it. It's over 94 minutes, something. That'll be it. No, he gives the free kick, and he lets them take the free kick. They're going to launch it into our box. Let's let it sit there, absolutely cacking it. No way. And then they just overshoot the free kick. Out it goes, but I'm like, yes, referee doesn't blow, still hasn't blown. Jack Butland has to take the kick. it goes in the air, and I'm still not sure, but it's 95. I'm still not sure he's going to blow, but 95 minutes, 22 seconds, the referee eventually blows, and it was fantastic. Both teams end the game with 1 goal, 7 points, and 1 Moroccan striker on the pitch. So that's us. We're 10th in the group. We're 10th in this group. It means, as I say, that the manager hasn't lost in 6 epic, all really tough ties away from home in Europe, while Rangers manager. He's got us in every domestic cup final we've had. He's won every domestic game after a European game this season. That's all 5 so far. That'll be the games that are really no, even when we win, it's really boring. Well, that's a good reason there. It's after European games. This is something other Rangers managers have really struggled with, have been unable to do, is to guarantee a win domestically after in the weekend after a European game. So I think it's fantastic they can achieve that. Husney beat Celtic in 5 attempts, 4 losses, 1 draw, and as people have been saying, it's been poor away from home domestically this season. Only 1 win so far. But I would ask you to stack up these, winning every weekend after a European game, getting us to all 3 domestic cup finals that he could get us to, and this record away from home in Europe. It still looks like we're better playing on the break almost. We're better if we've got less of the ball, which doesn't suit us in Scotland at all. But it's something. I mean, Steven Gerrard, look what he built. He eventually got us the league title, starting with competence in Europe, and it looks like Philippe Clement is doing the same thing. It's the weirdest thing, this group, and it is just one group. As I say, a 36-team group in each competition this season. We are 10th, and we've got Nice coming up next, Spurs at Ibrox, and Manchester United. So Manchester United, their new manager, pumped Man City 4-1 the other night while it's still at Sporting. So he obviously knows what he's doing. So that looks a really difficult game. We have got Nice away from home, our first ever European opponents to say, but we're going to play them next. And they are, I think, 4th or something like that in Ligue 1. In fact, no, and they're above Lyon, and domestically they're just a point or so of goals above Lyon. And I'm thinking, well, Lyon gubbed us at Ibrox. That's going to be difficult as well. But then you look at the group itself. We're 10th, and directly above us is Lyon. And above them, in 8th place, the last of the automatic qualification for the last 16 spots, is FCSB, Steaua Bucharest, who we pumped 4-0 the other week. They've got 9 points. They've won every other game they've played. So above them, it's Spurs. And we've got directly below us is Olympiacos still. They're up our backsides. It's only goal difference, I think, that's separating us from them. But in 30th place is Union St Gilloise, and in 31st place, we got Union St Gilloise at Ibrox in our last game, and I'm thinking that's maybe the next chance we've got for any points. We need to win that. 11 points might be enough to see us through. So at 10 points it would be. But they've only got 2 points or something like that from the 4 games they've played so far. And then Nice are above Lyon a little bit. It doesn't make any sense at all. The form of teams in this group stage seems kind of really skewed, really weird. But we're high up in the bracket that is seeded in the round of 32. That would do for me. In fact, just anything right down to 24th place guarantees you're going to get into the round of 32. That would absolutely do for me. But it's really opening up, and apart from anything else, it means, if we go out now, it's probably a bit of a disaster. You need to plummet down that table. But it means it's not like we're in the Champions League and we couldn't pick up a point. We could hardly score a goal in that group stage a few seasons ago. It's just, we've got 2 wins and a draw from our first 4 games. That's absolutely fantastic. And we'll take anything else I think we can get from now on. I think the next 3 games as a bonus. But Union St Gilloise. But I'll be looking at Nice now thinking, they should be harder away from, much harder than Lyon were at home. And maybe they will be. Maybe we'll get leathered. But with this manager's record, Clement's record away from home, who knows what's going to happen? It's just the fallout they can have. People slagging Dessers. It's like they don't want to deal with the reality of what happens en route to perfection. We just want to get to perfection straight away. Dessers is one of the guys that shows up exactly where we are. He shows it in stark relief. We can't get anybody else. We don't have anybody else fit enough or experienced enough yet. Danilo's coming back in. Danilo might start against Hearts on Sunday, but it's really, I think some of the reaction towards him. Why won't he score every chance he gets? That's I know he gets a lot of chances, but we can't really deal with the reality of how things break down. But if we step away and look at the results, it's not quite so bad. This is progress. Now, keeping up the Greek theme, I've got a few more puns to throw at you. What is it? So, what are we going to be on Sunday? We get the Hearts. I'll do a proper preview of the Hearts game for you. I'll make it a lot shorter than this. But are we going to be Cassandras? We're going to be Cassandras, of Greek mythology. We're going to be Clytemnestras, like killing Agamemnon. We're going to slaughter the team. If Dessers misses a chance on Sunday, we're going to go into him and ruin it for ourselves. We're actually the opposite of Cassandras. But what we do is we do false, prophesying doom, and then it does, it doesn't really come true. But if we keep going on about it, we will make it come true. Or are we going to be Penelope? Penelope, she's waited for Odysseus to come back for the Odyssey. It's a nightclub in Clydebank in the 1980s. So Penelope, she was famously faithful to her husband. Lots of different suitors and all that, but she stuck by him. And I think that's what we should do on Sunday. The Jambos, they were humped at home by Heidenheim Hearts. They played after us tonight. Now they're at home tonight, so they've not got to travel, but I think that'll be cancelled out by the fact that the game's at 5 o'clock, so it gives us a bit more chance to rest, and also we're at home. So for once, we're not playing somebody with more energy than us on Thursday night. It'll be interesting to see what the manager's selection is, but we just got to get behind the team, I think, and see them into this international break, compounding the good feeling from this unavoidably positive result tonight. Enjoy it, troops, and I'll talk to you about the Jambos all too soon. Thanks for your time, folks.